welcome. This is
you.
Kitten. How do you pronounce your last name? I don't want to butcher it.
Oh, Kuroi.
Kuroi.
Yeah.
And Kitten here and I, we met once. Years and years ago, we share a vegan community of friends, and I met her sparkling, amazing energy maybe like 3 years ago, 3-ish years ago.
Yeah, something like that. I think so, yeah.
And we've just been friends online and all of that. And so I have to say that I watch you from afar, and I'm always interested in what you're doing. I just love your messaging and your whole, you were traveling with the band and doing all that stuff. And you're just a very, just from way outside, you're very interesting to watch. And your messaging is very positive and very, it's just attractive. So you got a whole attractive thing going on. And so as soon as I started doing this show, I thought, oh, she'd be great to have on and great to see and great to pick her brain. And just, I know people would love to, I know you have a show, and so I'll go into your bio in a second, but you're out there, and people, I know people find you interesting. I find you interesting. So if I find you interesting, I know there's others. So I'm really happy to have you here. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's a very flattering intro. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so for our viewers and our listeners, Kitten is a Los Angeles native. She's a Grammy-winning, world-touring, cross-genre vocalist and songwriter. With a voice so honest and raw, she has been compared to Lauryn Hill, paired with a fiery stage presence a la Tina Turner. That's a cool combo. It's no surprise she's performed alongside such legends as Elvis Costello, Engelbert Humperdinck, and Natasha Bedingfield. Her powerful vocals are also featured on Elvis Costello's Grammy award-winning album, Look Now. She has a motivational, feel-good Instagram show called Chit Chat with Kit Kat, and with a forthcoming podcast of the same name. So very cool resume. I'd love to hear more about it.
Oh, okay. Just start cold. Just okay.
Yeah.
Well, is there any particular? I mean, when I think about things that I've done in my life, there's been a lot of interesting things. So it's kind of hard to just start cold.
Yeah. So no, absolutely. So this show and what I do, and the whole reason why I do it is the focus is positivity. It's empowerment, it's motivation, it's, the show's called It's the Best Day of My Life, because I really believe that each day we have the choice and choices to make today better than yesterday. And so I look for people and guests and friends and just acquaintances and whomever are people I think have really, they seem to have managed to find a way to make each day the most out of each day and getting the most out of life. And so there's a spiritual aspect, like gratitude and joy and, I don't know, meditation and things like that. But then there's also the very real applications. How do people stay sane? How do people stay happy? How do people stay human with their crazy lives? And so with you've got I don't know how it is right now, but with your touring and stuff, I'm sure it's very taxing, just physically and emotionally. And there's a lot of time and traveling and all of that. How do you stay sane and centered in that lifestyle?
Okay. So for me, there's a variety of tools that I choose, that I pull from. Because like you said, if I'm on the road, and even here in LA, there'll be different gigs and stuff that I'll do. I do this sounds so LA, but I do a little yoga. Breathing helps to center me. I am not the most flexible person in the world. I can't do I cannot stand on my head and then on my shoulders and then, kiss my own back.
I cannot do that. I know.
I can't. If that ever happens, that would be magic, but that's not necessarily my goal or my aim in life personally. But yoga all those sorts of things. But I think really when you boil it down, it's about remembering that you're a human and remembering that you can reset like every moment. So it doesn't mean that you are a perfect person and you never feel sad or you never get stressed, but it's like you are able to at some point recognize that there's a temporary quality to this and that you can reset and you can find beauty in that moment, so there's a mantra that I have adopted and kind of edited for myself personally.
Yeah.
That I say, and it is I do not chase, I attract. Was it every oh my gosh, my brain is just crapping out my butt. Okay, I do not chase, I attract. Every good thing that's meant for me will simply find me and I'll be ready for it. And for some reason that helps to reset me. Like I had a weird dream last night. And as I was waking up from that weird dream and realizing that it wasn't real, that is what started playing in my head. And it started to kind of relax and calm me down because it's reminding me that there is goodness that I can reset. Yes. There are people that have lived in the most like war-torn situations, and they've still been able to find some sort of peace because they recognize that there's so much more about what's going on inside than what's all happening around you, and they can continue on to live through it and then live better lives somewhere else or in another kind of place and still endure. So many times we feel like something is the end, but maybe it's a new sort of beginning. So when I have that sort of mind set in the midst of chaos, like, oh my gosh, I have to catch this flight, I have to catch this Uber, I have to remember these new songs, I have to remember these new dance moves or whatever. There are just those little things that I do that are very peaceful and centering, that might sound kind of kind of to some people, but those things are legit. They really work. And it could be prayer for some people, it could be meditation for some, mantras, it could be all of them, it could be just the simple act of stretching. Like I'm always moving all the time. So people have caught me doing some strange stretches in the middle of stuff. But that's how I reset. So again, it doesn't mean that I'm a perfect person. It doesn't mean that life doesn't get hard and we're still trying to come out the other end of this pandemic, but it's about reaching in and accessing all these tools that you have within yourself that you don't have to go out and buy. Like you don't have to specifically buy a yoga outfit or buy a yoga mat or get a specific yoga membership. If you don't have that available to you, there are so many other ways you can still do that, Absolutely. So being creative in a positive space when you can. And I say when you can, because there's also toxic positivity when a person starts to feel sad or they see someone else is sad. So they're like, come on, hurry up and cheer up. That doesn't help. But but recognizing that you're human, recognizing that you can access these beautiful tools within you at any point in time, and then giving yourself space to be human, to realize these things, to awaken to these things at any given moment, and knowing that you can reset is
I love that. Yeah, I really love that. The reset, I'm a big fan of. You could start your day over at any time. I used to teach that to my son, when he was really little, and I mean, it comes in handy as a teenager too, but when he was little and maybe didn't have the emotional capacity or maturity to really handle like the complexities of the fifth grade or whatever, and fifth grade can be really tough. And I would have conversation with them about, you can start your day over at any time, or even if he and I would have disagreements, because when he was younger, it would be a little like we could get along pretty good now, but just when he was little, and maybe I'm having a bad morning and I'm rushing out of the house, and this is, back pre-COVID, but just running around and trying to get to work and coffee in hand and like rushing out of the house, trying to like, push everything and get everybody out. And I'm stressed and I'm yelling at people in the cars, like road rage kind of stuff. And then just pausing and being like, okay. Like, actually, let's start the day over. And we used to do that quite a bit. And I love that reset. Like, you can do it in a moment. You can reset your week or your year or your life.
Yes.
I really, really identify with what you're saying. It's great.
Yeah. And that's beautiful that you taught your son at such a young age, because a lot of us are not taught that. We have no idea. We have to go through some real serious stuff before we can access that and realize that it's available to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And if you can help your kids, I don't know, circumvent some of the, trials, but then again, you don't want to protect them from all the trials as much as you'd love to. You got to go through some of it, not all of the trauma, but some of it.
Yeah, but some of it is inevitable. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen. And that also helps to sharpen your ability to use those tools, because you're like, okay, now is the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd love to know, so you were on the Elvis Costello's Grammy winning album. Mm-hmm. How was that? I'd love to hear, like that seems like such a cool, like, what's it like working with him and the other bandmates and touring with him and, because he's a legend. Like, what's that like?
It's a dream, actually. Yeah. It's pretty amazing. Everyone's so nice. Everyone's so cool. Everyone's so talented. Everyone's so open to share their gift with you or share their experiences with you. I love that it's myself and another singer, Brianna Lee, where we're the youngest ones, like, on stage performing, and then everyone else is older than us. And so they've got, like, just a few decades more of amazing, salient stuff to teach us that they don't even realize that they're teaching us, or stories that are really fun that they share, which is cool to me. And I grew up with my grandparents and my grandparents' friends, and my parents had me when they were a little bit older. So I'm used to being around, older adults and enjoying hearing their stories and being able to, it's not run. You know what I mean? There's like a little bit more of like, let's be in this moment right now. Let's be in this pocket, which is cool. It's not about let's hurry up and try to impress these people or do all kinds of crazy stuff. It's like, we're here for the music. We're here for the camaraderie. Let's have fun. So I absolutely love that.
You have to have fun. What are we doing if we're not having fun?
Exactly. I love having fun as much as possible. Sleep is also fun and
sleep is
fun.
What's one of your favorite ways to have fun?
Well, I do love, something that some people may or may not know about me is that I have always dreamt of being in the circus, but like a performer, not doing things with or to animals, but not elephant stuff or all that, none of that, but more like, the person that's got a trillion hula hoops that they're, and they're aerialists and roller skating and everything. So anyways, what I do love to do is I like to rollerblade a lot. I do like to hula hoop a lot. Of course, I like to sing and write songs and, compose songs. I love to cook. I did take Ruby's plant-based, it's kind of like teaches you a lot of things about being a chef, actually, and cooking properly. And I did take that. So I chef up a little bit.
Nice.
I love fun things. I like to dance. I like to travel a lot. Traveling is.
What's your favorite place you've been to?
I have been to so many places.
Well, top three.
Okay. I loved going to Egypt. I went to Egypt. I went inside a pyramid. Like, that was really cool. Rode. So it's interesting. So I rode a camel. And as a vegan person, as a person that skews more ethically, it was like I did not want to ride. I was like, I don't know if that camel wants me to be on
Right.
them. I don't know if they like this, you know. And the reason why I ended up going on the camel was because I realized as I'm debating the ethics of life, everyone has left. Everyone is on the camel. And now I am a solo woman, unprepared. And all of these people are like descending upon me to want to ask me questions or sell me things or looking at me like, oh, and I was like, okay, I got to get on this camel.
Yeah.
Then I got on the camel. And what was interesting was as soon as I got on the camel, I rubbed on the camel and I was like, I love you. I don't want to hurt you. And then the camel really softened up a lot.
I'm sure you're the only, well, maybe not the only, but I'm sure you're one of the few that really showed it some love. Like you could probably just feel the heart in you, you know, the animals can. Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, it made sure it didn't go too fast or, you know, because I saw some of the other ones were like, man, forget these people. I want to know.
Right. All mad.
I was really tender and gentle. And then I guess they liked one of the other band members' camels or something. I don't know. They were in the mood. So they started off kissing.
That's awesome.
Okay. But yes, anyway, Egypt was great. Going to Dublin was awesome. I made some great friends out there, and I also did a performance of my own songs out there, which was fantastic because I've never gone to another country and just sang my own stuff. So, you know, I had a friend of mine connected me to a guitarist, and I hired this guitarist, and he was also a great vocalist, so he did singing for me too. We rehearsed and we did a show for like a full house audience. That was so amazing.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, I had my name on the, you know, on the flyer. It was just like, oh my God. So that was cool. Let's see. What else? So many interesting adventures. Sentimentally, because I've been to so many places that I'm like, wow. But the first place that I went to and I just processed what I was doing. Years ago, I went to Paris while I was on tour. And this is before and this was not with Elvis, this was with another artist, but this was before people like bands and stuff like that were comfortable with giving people direct deposit. So I would get my paycheck while on the road and I'd get my per diem while on the road, but it'd be a tangible check and I'm in another country. So I couldn't deposit it. So I have all this money, but I can't do anything with it. So we were in Paris, and the next day we were supposed to have a day off in Belgium. So it's like we drove up to Paris, woke up there late in the evening, did a show, and then everybody was supposed to just go to Belgium. And I'm like, I have never been here. I want to stay for this day off. So 4 of us stayed for that day off. And I had to think about it. I was like, okay, I have like $0 really. So I have to choose one big thing to do. Yeah. So we partnered up, we buddied up, and I walked past the Louvre, but I didn't go into it because that was like time and money. Yeah. So I ended up doing the Eiffel Tower, going to the top of the Eiffel Tower. And it's so beautiful because you could just see just the whole 360 view of Paris and the water and the hills and the stuff. And then it just dawned on me that I am, as far as I know, I'm one of maybe 2 people in my family, in the whole history of my family that I know of, that had this opportunity to be up there, you know, to go to Paris, to see this, you know. And I just think about, you know, my ancestors and the things that they had to endure and how there's no world in which they could even envision that. And here I am. And I just started just crying, just the power of this. Like there's this whole notion about like changing your family's karma, you know, and it felt like that was something that I am contributing to, you know, just pushing the boundaries of where me and my family, my ancestors, my bloodline, all that could go, you know, just anywhere. There was a limitless feeling about it, very empowering feeling and a very like honoring feeling about it, if that makes any sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. And then your limitlessness is your gift, right? You just, it's your gift that you get to experience and share and then, you know, show your family, like, look at, you know,
Yeah.
look where we can go. And
Yeah.
I think that is, well, what was your family's response to
They
you
thought it
going
was they thought it was beautiful.
there?
I think because my parents have traveled, but they haven't been there and they haven't been like to all the places that I've been,
Yeah.
to, especially by this point now, my grandma, I don't even know if my grandma had ever really left the country
Mm,
before she passed
mm.
away. She passed away last year.
Oh,
So, and they're from Oklahoma
yeah.
and they moved from Oklahoma all the way to LA to start a new life. That was the big thing for them, Then my parents went to college, and then I think my parents had gone on a trip to they'd gone to Kenya,
Hmm.
which was awesome.
Have you ever
And
been there?
then
Have you ever been to any of the African countries?
besides Egypt, no, not yet.
Yeah.
But I'm going
Yeah.
to. I was supposed to actually go to Ghana last year,
Hmm.
and then COVID said no. Ghana was like one of the first African countries that was like, no one's coming here, boy.
Right,
So
right, right. You're like,
I
no,
couldn't
no,
even try to
keep
sneak
it.
in.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, so you've been you've been an artist that tours with other artists for how long?
At least since about 2000, the end of 2007. I think this December or November 2007
Yeah,
was the
okay.
first tour that it was the first show that I did. And
Mhm.
then it turned itself into a tour.
Yeah. So
And
how long have you been singing?
I have been singing since I was in the crib.
Wow.
However,
Yeah.
I didn't know that professional singing was actually a career.
Oh.
Like I had no idea. I thought like, oh, you have to be like related to the Beatles or like in the
Right.
Jackson family to
Yeah.
do music professionally. I had no idea. I didn't go to school for music. I went to school for public relations and Japanese language and culture studies. I sang while I was in college. I sang when I had my internships. I would sing for people, sing happy birthday to them.
Yeah.
I was in this this cool choir that it was like a community staff, faculty, and community choir at Cal State Fullerton. But the angle was to educate people on music through the diaspora of Black people in America. So all kinds of different genres. So like anything from like Billie Holiday, Kirk Franklin to Nelly and, Janet or whatever, just all sorts of things, and just kind of educating people about music throughout the years and throughout just from different regions of America through like the African American lens or, and how that's part of the American quilt.
Yeah.
So that was fun, but I didn't really think that was a career thing. There was a woman, we had sung at a memorial, one of the students from Cal State Fullerton, they got in a bad car accident or something like that happened to them. And they passed. And we did this memorial. And I sang a solo, can't remember what it was, but I sang a solo.
Yeah.
And after it was over, the woman made a point to find me and come over to me. And she told me one day, she said, the world needs to hear your voice. One day the world will hear your voice. And I was like, okay, lady.
Right.
Sure. And then fast forward now, I have sung all over the world and I've performed on, on TV and, all this kind of stuff. Like, wow, she knew something that I didn't know.
Yeah. Well, sometimes that's how it works, right? People can see our talents or see our shining abilities before we can.
Yes.
So
Very
she
true.
absolutely saw something, or into your future. What was the turning point for you? Like, what kind of work were you doing before you decided to go fully into being a professional vocalist and singer?
Okay. Well, when I got out of college, I was working to be an event planner. I was working at an event planning company. And then that that company actually was a small company, and they started going down because they weren't able to keep up with whatever. And so then I somehow, don't remember how, somehow I ended up in the promotional marketing world, where I was, when you go to the beach and there's these people who are like, oh my gosh, try this new gum. And they give you packs of gum, or I would go to, I was linked up with this one company. I forgot, I think the company at the time was called Music Matters. And they would partner food brands with eco-conscious or socially conscious musicians or bands. So like I did Ben and Jerry's at, like, giving people tubs of Ben and Jerry's at a Dave Matthews Band concert for Earth Day or something like that. And then that connected me with going to the expo, like Natural Products Expo West, which is like the largest natural foods and natural products,
Amazing.
world. It's amazing. I mean, I don't know how it is now, obviously, because of COVID, but when I went though, man, I didn't have money. So it was great because I was working with Cliff Bar for a long time. But before that, I was working with like Kettle Chips, and I was working with Nature's Gate and all that. And every other vendor.
You always had snacks. You were never
always had snacks. They were everywhere. And on top of that, if we had a little bit extra, we would go to other vendors and we'd say, hey,
barter and trade,
right. It was great.
Your snacks. I love it.
Yeah. And that was around the time that I was really, vegan. So it was like a promised land. Like, you mean there's mushroom jerky? You mean that, like, just, but anyway, so I was doing that, and then somehow I ended up for a short moment being in the car show circuit, doing that. So I was kind of like a promotional marketing model or promotional marketing like agent. And for a minute, I actually thought that I wanted to work for a promotional marketing company where I'm helping with the logistics. And I did do that a little bit.
Yeah.
And that was kind of slowing down. And I know a little bit of graphic design. And I'd already had my degree, and I'm like, I'm not really getting a job though. Like, I'm applying to things and not really getting a job. Don't get me wrong. At that time, promotional marketing was like the secret that I wish everybody knew about, because you would be making money and they wanted everybody to look uniform and nice. So I was getting clothes. Like, they were like, you have to wear these nice boots. You have to wear this nice outfit, and it's yours, So for a person that is broke, it was like, you're giving me food, you're giving me clothes, and you're paying me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Perfect. What changed for you? Where did you go?
So after that, I started going to graphic design. And I went to Santa Monica College. I was like, well, at the time, just to get like a job answering phones, they wanted you to be like proficient in like Photoshop and all this other stuff, which I'm like, I don't understand. Like, we're not doing newsletters, but that's what they wanted. And I did like graphic design. So I started on that, and I was doing very well. Drawing, like I had to do hand drawing things and the mock-ups, and it was fun. And then I don't know exactly if this is the correlation, but a friend of mine that I went to high school with, she was a singer, or she still is, singer and songwriter. It was her birthday. And I called and sang happy birthday on her voicemail. And I sang it and left it and continued on about my day. And then I don't know the time frame exactly, but not too long after that, she called me and she said, this artist, Natasha Bedingfield, is looking for another vocalist, and it would be me singing on it. And I just put your name in, put your hat in the ring or whatever. Would you be interested? And I'm like, sure. I didn't know who Natasha Bedingfield was at the time. I didn't connect the name to the music, which is very common in my world. I'm like, oh, that person did that song. Okay. All right. And so Natasha's tour manager reached out to me, and it just so happened that maybe a year or two before that, a friend of mine asked me to cut vocals for a demo they wanted to pitch for a Pussycat Dolls song. And I don't know anything about the industry, but I was like, sure. So I'm singing all these different voices and everything. That was like the only relatively professional thing that I had. So I sent that to Natasha's manager. I made a resume based on the different singing that I had done. And that's when I realized, wow, I've been singing way more than I thought. Like,
right.
Okay. And they liked it. And so then they were like, okay, are you available to come? It must have been December. Are you available to come to Vegas in like December, whatever? And I was like, sure, yeah. All right. I said, I'll drive myself out there, they probably offered to fly, but I think I wanted to drive because I wanted to just have the headspace. I didn't know it was a gig. At the time, American Idol was still relatively a big new thing. So in my head, this is an audition in Vegas and they want me to come stand in line. And, they've given me the songs. I've practiced them in and out. I'll be ready to audition.
Yeah.
I didn't realize until I got there,
it was
the show. Like they had me in the, oh my gosh, what is that hotel? One of the fancy hotels out there, big fancy hotel with a big old bath that my whole body could fit in and everything. Right. And they're like, so yes, and tomorrow is the show, and it's this is for the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas, which is like one of the world's largest expos for like new electronics, like if there's going to be new music players or some other kind of stuff, like it was like the cutting edge everything, a new cool vacuum cleaner or something. Anyway, and the event was the grand unveiling of the brand new version of the John Lennon Educational Tour Bus, which was a tour bus with the recording studio on it. And they would just go across the country and people would record like great albums on this bus. And the people that were basically ribbon cutting, as it were, was Yoko Ono and will.i.am of the Black Eyed Peas. I'm like, nobody told me this. Nobody told me.
Wow. So what kind of things were going through your head? Like what did you have? It like negative self-talk? Did you have like doubt? What happened?
I definitely had doubt. I don't think that I had my negative self. At this point, I was already out there, so I couldn't turn around.
Yeah.
I'm sure I know I had negative self-talk. Like, what the heck, man? I thought this is an audition. I don't know if I'm ready. Do I have the right kind of clothes? Are they going to find me out? Like I definitely did have imposter syndrome for sure. I was like, they're going to find out that I've never done this before. I have to pretend like I do this all the time. I have a great poker face. So, and I do have a tendency to say yes to things that I've never done before. Yeah.
It's good though. You got to start before you're ready.
You do. Sometimes the opportunity is great.
Start before you're ready. Just do it. Start. If somebody's like, have you ever done this before? Unless it's brain surgery, I say, yep, I know what I'm doing.
Yep, sure, yeah. If it seems like it's a great opportunity that you might enjoy, or it could lead to other awesome things, then just go on ahead and do it. I mean, don't think about the worst that could happen. Just think about the best that could happen at this point, because you already said yes. So
you might as well enjoy it. Right?
Exactly.
Going back to having fun, you might as well have fun with it.
I had so much fun. They gave us all kinds of cool free things, which who doesn't like cool free things?
Yep.
And I did my best. I didn't tell anyone that I'd never done it before, and
I bet you they didn't even know.
They didn't know. They had no idea. And so then, as I'm walking to my car, the manager is walking with me, and I think they probably reimbursed me for the drive. Like I don't think they were like, we'll fly you, or if you drive yourself, good luck. I think they reimbursed me for the drive. But he was walking me to my car, and he goes, okay, well, he has a poker face too. His name is Pip. He's still out there being awesome, Pip. But British man with like a really thick British accent. Like I'd never heard it that thick before, very serious guy. And he's telling me, well, thank you for coming out, and, we'll call you if we're going to need you again. And I said, okay, thanks. And I thought that was like, you did a great job. You're never going to hear from these people again, though.
Yeah.
And then I get home, and a couple of days later, I get an email that was like, all right, so for the next 6 months, these are all the things that were like a full on
Wow.
go, 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 go
Wow.
tour. And that
Has it been one of
changed
those,
my
like,
life.
you never look back at this after that?
Pretty much, yeah. That changed my life, I think. And so that next year, it was all Natasha Bedingfield as the headliner. And we did like all the House of Blues and all these other cool venues, just going everywhere. We went to England, I think, a couple times. We did TV show. We did like Ellen, and we did who else? We did almost like a lot of the night shows, and we did a couple TV shows. And I was just like, what?
Yeah. Whirlwind. Like, 1 minute you're one of the, because I used to do those promotional things too.
Okay, yeah.
It was one of my side hustle jobs. I worked like 4 jobs at one point, and it's good money, but it's not like a consistent paycheck, and it's a lot of work. I mean, I used to sell alcohol. I mean, all kinds of stuff.
Did you have to go into the bars?
In bars.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'd stand in liquor stores. I'd have a 2-hour shift in a liquor store to sell.
The in-stores are the worst.
In heels, and I was like 30, I don't know, something years old. And I just was like, and I was already sober at this point. And I'm like, what am I doing
What
here?
am I
Like,
doing? Yeah.
this is not, I mean, I needed money. I mean, I just, there's worse ways to make money, and it's
right.
I'm never going to say no to it, but it was just it was a lot of work. So you went from, kind of, I'm not saying, touring and all of that is a different kind of a lot of work, but I'm sure that must have been a culture shock for you.
It was a big culture shock.
Yeah.
Well, and then also, so when you mentioned 30, I think when I did the first Natasha gig in Vegas, I was 26 on the way to 27. And then when we did the tour, I recognized that I was about 8 to 10 years older than most of everybody else on the road. I mean, Natasha and I are around the same age, and my friend Lauren also around the same age. And then other members in the band were older than us. I think a couple people were still in the age group, but for the most part, everybody was younger than me.
Yeah.
And that made me feel very self-conscious. I look the same age as them. Some of them look older than me, and still to this day, I look younger than I actually am. But yeah, I didn't get my start in the industry till I was almost 30 years old, whereas most of the people, they're like, as soon as they're out of high school, they're in it, or in the middle of college. That's one of the ways that they're making money. Yep. I was almost 30.
I would love, like, that's all, to me, 30 years old, like, forget your 20s. Like, the 20s are, it's a learning and growing and whatever experience, and it's great. But I don't think life starts till you're 30, really. And I do, I had expectations in my 20s of like, oh, I should have been at this stage, to be successful. And I've really learned that that's a bunch of crap.
It
like,
is.
Some people's upbringing and stuff like that, and they go to college and they do all the milestones, like the movies. I didn't do the milestones like the movies at all. And I spent a lot of my years like really kind of beating myself up because I didn't live up to some, I don't know, cultural, like made up thing. And, I really believe your life starts at 30, like real life starts at 30.
Yes. So mine definitely did. Mine totally was like, okay, it's time to kick off now. Here we go.
Yeah. What would you say your favorite teacher? Like, maybe it's a person, maybe it was an experience, but what's your favorite teacher?
My favorite teacher. I mean, okay. Well, an actual teacher that I had that was my favorite teacher was my 3rd grade teacher, Miss Campbell. I don't know her first name because we never know our teacher's first name. Miss Campbell. She was young to my recollection. She had long, dark, curly hair, and she wore glasses all the time. And she was from Pennsylvania.
What did you love about her?
She loved to be creative. She loved to create worlds. And I'm big on that, creating worlds. Like, creating worlds within yourself, creating worlds in your space, creating worlds around you, even sitting on a park bench and creating the world that these other people that you don't know are in, just creating worlds, because oftentimes one can feel completely disconnected or feel like you don't necessarily belong, but then it's like, well, create your own world. So she was big on that, and everything was very artistic in a way for her. And I'm such a artistic-y person. So like the way that she described, she was from Pennsylvania. She's like, Pennsylvania, it looks like a bus. So then forever I'm thinking, Pennsylvania looks like a bus. Like in my head, we would have reading camps at school. Like I don't even remember learning any math. Maybe we did. Maybe we learned math and science. The only thing I remember.
Probably did. Somewhere.
I'm sure we did. We should have. That's her job. But what I remember the most was reading. She would have these reading camps, and it wouldn't just be like, okay, you guys can sit in the corner and just free read. She would be like, okay, today is beach camp, like beach reading camp. And so she would get like, everybody can bring their towels, you can bring your bathing suit. I mean, obviously wear it appropriately. She'd have beach balls around and all this kind of stuff, decorate the whole classroom like a little beach. And then we could read, or it would be like, camping, and she'd do like little fire things and all kinds of, she would just create worlds. And it encouraged me to envision so much more than what I'm seeing right in front of me, if that makes sense. Like how you can transform everything and anything. And then, doing that on top of us reading, that's just, what we're in a whole other world, in another world, reading this book, just completely escaping. She really fostered that idea of imagination. And I love that. She's my favorite teacher, hands down. I'm sorry, every other teacher.
Do you get to practice imagination? Do you get to, how do you do that still? Do you still enjoy using your imagination?
I do. That's all I ever
Oh, good.
No, I do. I make time to do, when I'm in the mood, I'll, do art stuff or, like draw. When I say art stuff, I'm like drawing or I'm painting. I'll go get some canvases and, and even with Sharpies and stuff, I make some cool abstract stuff with Sharpies and all that kind of stuff. With cooking, when I was a little kid, I used to even doing chores. So I didn't necessarily love to do chores. Most kids do not love to do chores. But like if I had to do something like washing dishes, which I did not like, I'd pretend that I was on an infomercial and I'd be talking about how well this soap washes these dishes. Look at all the stuff coming off, But I do that. Creating songs, like songwriting or just making music or songs, even if it's like short little clips, that takes me to another world. Sometimes I just let the music create the world for me, or I have an idea of the world that I want to create in that space. Cooking also is another world. Like if I'm going with a theme, or like 1 year for New Year's Eve, I would watch Slumdog Millionaire. And so I wanted to make food that represented where he was from, So I looked at like this for real, legit, takes 1,000 hours long recipes, make these delicious, like very well-rounded, very robust foods, just so that I can be in that world of possibilities and inspiration, and just kind of like be there with him, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely. Food it's what connects us all, and it's what connects us to our bodies. Food is it's like a portal. I agree. I can, speaking of snacks, like I love snacks for sure. And like, maybe, I don't know what kind of portal snacks take me to, but food and cooking is like, it's absolutely can connect you to other cultures.
Yes.
All the way across the planet, and that
it can.
is a really good example of like, yeah, like getting into a story and wanting to take it a step further to connect and to understand. You know, what does
Right.
somebody like that eat? You know, what's their experience? And yeah, what kind of stuff did you end up making?
It-
I'm curious.
um, I made different sorts of like Indian food and other foods from that area, like chutneys and
Mm.
dosas. And I mean, I made so much food because the recipe, I just went exactly by the recipe and I'm like, this is for a whole party. Like,
Yeah. So
I
you
had
had
that food for it.
leftovers,
I had, yeah. But yeah,
yeah.
I mean, there are so many different things that I do. And then even like if I go, I'll go to skate at the beach. So like where I live is like close to downtown LA.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no water over
Yeah.
here unless you count the LA River, and that
No.
does not count.
Yeah, no.
That doesn't have any water in it usually. So I'll go to my favorite local stretch of beach is like El Segundo area. Like I'll do El Segundo and Manhattan Beach, Hermosa. I love that area because those beaches are more like people live there versus tourists. And when people are out there, they're like exercising or they're spending time with their family. Yeah. It's not just people walking around standing in the middle of the street taking pictures and stuff. And so I can escape there. I can pretend that I live there, or I can pretend that, and just feeling the wind, feeling the air, feeling the sand. If I happen to go into the sand and the water, I have a very, very vivid imagination.
That's good.
So I create worlds pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, that's good. No, I love it. I love it. Well, thanks to Miss Campbell for really encouraging you and fostering that.
Yeah.
And then
my mom is also very very creative like that as well.
Yeah.
So it was cool to kind of.
Sisters?
I have a brother. I have one brother. He is in Lubbock, Texas. And one of the things that he loved to do was film, like actually record, like film things. And he would film. He actually got into, before it was a big thing, he got into filming skateboarders. Oh. And he would find creative, interesting ways to film their tricks, like he would be on his back and, things that people now are, take for granted. I mean, people even do that on their phones for Instagram, but back when he was doing it, people were not doing that.
No, yeah. And he was probably doing it with like a handheld, right?
Yes. Yeah. With the handheld. And he's like 6'5". So he's like way taller than everybody.
Yeah, he's the giant guy videotaping everybody.
Yes, exactly.
With actual videotapes. I remember those.
Yeah. So I had some creativity in my house. Sounds like it. And it was cool, like, to leave the confines of your home and then meet someone like Miss Campbell, who also shows you like, that's not just you. This is something that I do too. This is something that, like growing up, I thought that everyone could sing. Like, I didn't think that was a unique thing. I thought everyone could sing. My mom can sing. She's not a professional singer. She has not gone out to sing publicly, even though she could if she wanted to. She's too shy. But my grandma and all her sisters would, when they'd get together, they'd just gather on the piano and sing and harmonize. And then I went to, I grew up in like a Southern Baptist gospel church, and so even if the choir that I was in, the kids weren't as great, we would go to other churches where they would have great. So I just figured singing is just a thing that everyone could do. I had no idea that
it's a special thing. Yeah. Well, it is very special.
Yeah.
It is very special. So, I mean, listening to someone sing to me in person, I'll start crying, certain music, I'll just start crying, My husband and I went to a symphony before COVID, and oh my God, I was sitting there just listening, and within 60 seconds of the beginning, just live music, that those sounds, it does something to my heart center, and just like just start falling.
Do you get goosebumps and stuff too?
Oh, yeah.
There's a name for that, and I cannot think of what it is, but that's a legit thing that not everybody experiences. And again, I thought that you and I were amongst everybody else.
Yeah,
Like that's
yeah,
how
yeah.
everybody else experiences
Yeah.
it, don't they? No, it's
Yeah.
not a total body transformative experience. Some people,
Right.
they like music, but it's just music is over there.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
there's music, I see it, I can wave at it. There it is. I can. But for us, music goes all the way into us.
Oh yeah.
So that's cool that you also had that same experience.
Yeah. I found through my own meditation practice that how to open up certain parts of me. And
Mm.
once they're open, I mean, they close. I can feel them close sometimes too. But when my heart's open, like I could just cry just sitting here. I could just get very emotional sitting here. And so that's something it took me into being an adult to really kind of pay attention and to dive in and want to discover,
Oh, I want to
like,
learn that.
yeah, heart opening meditation. It's good. And if you're a tender person anyway,
I'm so tender.
I think that like I think it maybe seems kind of scary because you're like, I'm already really sensitive, but it's actually very healing and and wonderful. And I think I love that some things will just make me cry. Like I think it's
Yeah.
it's a superpower to care that much,
And it's beautiful that you have a support, it sounds like, or it seems
Mhm.
like at least you have support around you that nurtures that or accepts that. They're not making fun of you or making you feel
Yeah.
like, suck it up. You
Yeah.
gotta,
That
you
wouldn't
know.
work. Oh, I need words of affirmation are my love language. So I have to be you gotta support me or
Yeah.
I will shrivel up. I have some questions that I thought were interesting and I'd love to just because I love the way your brain thinks. If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self a piece of advice, what would it be?
Whew. All
What would
right.
you tell her?
Let me go back to 18. Okay, 18. I was graduating high school. And I remember that I was happy to be done. I was kind of scared about what comes next.
Mhm.
And then I was also very sad. And I don't think I could pinpoint exactly why I was sad, but I was very sad. But I feel like if I could go back to her, I would freaking show her the Grammy Award. I
Yeah.
would say, you know what? You don't really sing a lot and you might not be sure of your voice, but you're going to do some freaking amazing things. Like I think what I was sad about was I didn't feel like I was moving on to, uh, I didn't feel like I was moving into another chapter of my life that I was excited about, that I was happy about. Like I had I was going to go to Cal State Fullerton, and that was like a last minute kind of thing because if I would have known that I could go to school for music, I would have done that. I didn't even know that existed. I had no idea. But I loved music. Music was since being in the crib. But anyways, a couple of my cousins, a few of my cousins had gone to Cal State Fullerton, and they were studying, like one was studying business, one had studied communications. And the one that studied communications, he said, if you go to study communications, you don't really have to take math. And I was like, okay, I mean, I know I have to go to college, so this seems cool. And it was like not too far away from home. Because I grew up in the Inland Empire, kind of between LA and Inland Empire, back and forth. So it wasn't too far away from home. And
The good old
yet it still
IE.
wasn't.
Where in the IE? Because I grew up in the IE.
Oh, did you? Okay. I grew up in Rialto and then in like East Highland, like Redlands.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I was a little bit closer. I was in Corona. I went to
Oh
school.
yeah.
Yeah.
I had track meets.
Nice.
Corona.
Yeah. 909.
Yep. My phone is still 909. So
nice. Wow. Nice.
Yeah. Look at me.
Hold on. I love it.
So sentimental. It's not 951 or whatever it is now. It's
yeah. I know it turned into a 951. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. So you were going to Cal State Fullerton?
Yeah, I was going to Cal State Fullerton, but I think I was sad because I was not excited about the journey. My heart wasn't in it. am a person that wanted to explore, like see the world and do all these things, but I felt like I was just kind of trapped. Like I felt like I couldn't really. I had applied to 2 schools on the East Coast. I had applied to Howard and Hampton. Howard's in DC. Hampton is in Virginia, both historically Black colleges.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Howard, one of them sent me information about something I didn't even want to study, something I didn't even ask for. So they got that mixed up. The other one didn't finally get back to me until after I'd started at Cal State Fullerton. Oh. And I had never paid attention to how to get into Cal State or whatever schools at all, because I was like, I know I'm not going there. Like I figured I would be going somewhere far. And I had this fantasy about going someplace, like seeing the world, because of the internet, because I liked, I'm going back and forth, but in high school-ish, I think in high school, I found out about Michael Jackson's nephews, 3T. And they're R&B singers. And I was like, they are so amazing. And then I made a little website, like HTML 1.0. I made a website, fan website. And then all these fans from all over the world started like messaging me. And then we started emailing each other. And then we would go to like the grocery store or whatever, and we would find articles on 3T from our countries. And then we would mail it, like post mail it to like Brazil or whatever. So then I was like, oh, I need to see the world. I'm going to see the world. I have these friends like all over the world. I'm going to see the world. So then by the time I'm graduating high school and I'm realizing I haven't picked a college. I'm not going anywhere. This is not exciting. I started feeling sad. So Cal State Fullerton, they had something that was awesome that will never, ever happen again. It was on-site admittance because they just wanted more people to go.
Wow.
So
wow. Yeah.
It was like, and this was like literally, my parents didn't know. I didn't apply to any place at all. All I did was send for information for the other 2 colleges. I applied for, nobody's college. I was a really good student. I had a great GPA. I was in honors and AP classes and all that kind of stuff. So on-site admittance, it's like you show up to the registrar's office or whatever with your transcripts and everything, and then you give them time to process it. While they're processing it to see if you qualify, to see if blah, 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 whatever, because you still have to have your references and all this other stuff, test scores and everything. Like, it's not like you just say, hey, I would like to go here. And they say, great, welcome. So they process it. And in that time, they take you on a tour of Cal State Fullerton. And my mom, my dad, my brother, my uncles and cousins were there. By the time the tour was over, they're like, all right, you've been accepted. And I was like, whew, because I didn't apply to no other place. And then I went there. I had a great time actually creating worlds there because it was still considered a commuter school. We only had the set of dorms that were there. So if you didn't make it into the dorms, you just had to find some other place to live because they were so small. And I remember trying to figure out what I'm going to do here. Like, how will I make this exciting? Because this is not exciting. There's like nothing happening. No one was like, you go to Cal State. Like, nobody cared. Everyone was trying to like, where's a map so I can figure out where this school is. Like, now it's like, Cal State Fullerton. But back then it was like, oh, so you just over there with these orange groves and stuff? That's nice. Right. So I remember this, I don't even know how I got connected with them, but this mentoring program, they wanted an assistant or like a student that was like coordinating things. And they would work with like the grants and contracts department to try to help drum up money for this mentoring program. And I was supposed to help infuse new life into it because I was young and get students in to pair students with faculty and staff to be mentored. And my god sister and I, she went to the school too, or she was working there at the time. We both were like, it should be more exciting. I think it should be more exciting. So I proposed this idea about it being like an entertainment-based thing. And then we brainstormed it. And it completely transformed from that mentor program to being like the first organization on that campus to really talk about the entertainment industry. And we brought artists on, we had panels, we had guests, we had performances. Mm-hmm. And I was paid to do, I was paid through a grant. I created a job for myself, created an organization that other people really love. Like people that weren't even a part of the school would come and be inspired by these events and stuff. Yeah, I worked with the campus, like hip hop, like the radio stations, internet radio stations and everything. And then from that, some of the artists that were like bigger artists, I talked to their PR people, and I got internships at VH1 and MTV, worked with BET, like created this world, which kind of really started getting the ball rolling.
It's interesting because you've had a lot of exposure before you ever decided to become a pro in the music industry. Sounds like you had a lot of like hints from the universe. The universe is like, hey, kittens, hey, and like trying to get your attention. And, it planted at just different times in your life. It's interesting.
It is. Because I really was totally sad.
Right away.
What did you say?
Like sometimes we don't hear the universe, trying to get our attention.
No.
Yeah.
And we're sad because we don't know what comes next. That is a common thing. We're like, okay, so there's this next chapter.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's happening. I don't see it. It's not clear. I don't know where I'm going. And I was scared. I was sad. And then I created this whole world.
I love it.
For myself that prepared me for what I do today.
It sounds like it. I mean, I love it. So one of my last questions I want to ask you, do you have a gratitude or a spiritual practice that, like you had mentioned yoga, but do you practice gratitude? Do you meditate? Do you have a spiritual practice that, kind of grows your world?
Yeah, it's kind of a mixture of things. I was, like I said, I was born like Baptist Christian.
Yeah.
However, it's generally a little too conservative for me. Like it doesn't, like the music, lots of the music, especially gospel music, very much resonates with me. And like Jesus, like the concept of Jesus or like the historical Jesus really resonates with me because Jesus was like cool with everybody. Jesus wasn't doing crazy stuff. That was everybody else. But I was drawn to Buddhism. And so I do practice some Buddhism. And I'm also kind of, my thing is I'm led by the universe and led by my ancestors, if that makes sense.
It does.
Especially
you're talking to the right person. I hear you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, great. Yes. I'm the person that's got, I've got crystals. I also have a Gohanzen. I also, when my grandma passed away, so on weird stuff for people that are like, this is so weird. Since I was a little kid, I've had like some sort of contact with other like spirits that would come at different times. Like when I was a little kid, I'd see this as what I know now are the shadow people running around in the living room, and I'd be terrified to go to the bathroom because I'd have to run past them. But anyways, my grandma, like this is last year, not too long before she passed away. I want to say maybe like a week before or something. Yeah. I was going for a walk and it was like, I could hear her clear as day telling me, and she had Alzheimer's. So I'm speaking to her consciousness. I'm not speaking to her body.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
She came to me and she told me, I'm getting ready to leave. I'm going to be leaving very soon. And I'm okay. Everything's going to be okay. I want you to take care of your mom. And that was just like, it was like she was there talking to me. And especially ever since then, I am able to hear or get messages or signs from her. Or it's like, usually if I tap into one thing, then other things open up. And it gives me some sort of reassurance. So that said, I do yoga, I do meditation, I do Buddhist, like Nam-myoho Renge Kyo, I do that. I listen to gospel music. Yeah. I am very much like, I don't feel like there's one, for me personally, I don't feel like there's one way to be. I feel like if there is a story of life, there is a linear timeline to it, which I don't think there is. But if there was, and there was this, then there's this one source that is, you cannot define it. And that source has to disseminate information in all these different ways that we can understand. Right. So it's like, it's interesting. Like, even if you go to the core of the more nice core of a lot of the major religions, it's a lot of it's the same story. It's just a different person's name or a different setting, but they're very similar. And there's something to be said when somebody that's a Christian gets the same message somehow from someone that's, that's someone that's Buddhist or Wiccan or something like that. Yeah. So a lot of this is like, it's the same energy. It's just like a language that has to be translated. Like, somebody that lives in the bush somewhere, like deep in the forest of China, that speaks some very indigenous language, can't just come over to me and start talking. I won't know what they're talking. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to ask you just really quick, because we're almost done, but just, do you want to I want to hear, just tell me about your show that you have on Instagram, and then like your podcast and anything else you have coming up.
All right. So my show is called Chit Chat with Kit Kat, and I interview a lot of my awesome friends, the people that I know. Most of them are creative people, because I really feel like now is the time to really lift up creative people. We are in demand right now. We are, there's like this shift. The world needs us. We need to be out there. So I speak to primarily creative people, and we talk about, the things that move us, the things that inspire us. We get pretty deep, sometimes a little long-winded, but it's all fun. At the end of the day, I want them to be inspired, and for them to inspire other people. And it's been doing very well. I have been on I've been on a hiatus because life started picking up. But you can catch the episodes that I have so far. I feel like there's 17, 18, something like that. There's a good amount. Yeah. They're on my IGTV, and I do plan to, take them to other platforms, and then also add them to my forthcoming podcast, where I would do a similar thing, but move to that podcast route. Awesome. Yeah. And then working on a project that I've been talking about for a long, long time. It will come out at some point. It is called American Refugee. And it's interesting because even though it's taking me longer to come out with it, it's not getting less pertinent, the concept.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Awesome. Well, I absolutely love talking to you. I knew that I would, but you have exceeded my expectations. So thank you so much. Taking some time out of your busy schedule and just sharing with us your, how you find joy and how you stay centered. And, men, women, old, young, whomever watches or listens to the show is, these are the commonalities that we all share, right? And especially during these trying times. So it's always good to know that, like, somebody listening isn't alone, and they're like, okay, maybe I just need to go create a world that brings me joy. I need to go create the world that excites me. So I really got that out of what you were sharing with me today. And I thank you for your time and your presence and saying yes, appreciate it.
I thank you for inviting me. I feel it's an honor. Seriously. When I first met you, I was like, she is cool. Like, you have this like understated just power. Like, I don't know if you notice or recognize that you have this power, but you just have this power. But it's light. It's almost like sometimes it feels like you have so much light inside of you, and you just kind of want to be like, chill. Just, you don't have to everybody. So we're just
gonna chill. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's my vibe for sure. Awesome. Well, thank you, and everyone watching and listening. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Your Best Life Ever, the best day ever, with Susannah Sprague and my guest Kitten Kuroi. Kuroi. So yeah, I don't want to butcher it, but yes. And thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Now, glutathione is a big word, but it's the body's own master antioxidant. So it's a scavenger for free radicals, for bacteria, and what's relevant now, viruses. This is new to the marketplace. There's no other product on the market that has the ingredient NACET.
And basically NACET increases the production of that glutathione that is in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system and keep it strong. Elevated sense of well-being. Supports muscle strength and endurance. Cognitive function. Powerful liver support. Energy. Helps blood sugar regulation. Superior bioavailability of key ingredients.
One of your best defenses against COVID is a strong immune system. Taking GSH Plus as a daily supplement does all that. And now we have the product out on the marketplace.